when we talk about employee experience, which is obviously something that you're so passionate about, and what do you see as the future of employee experience?
So let me start by maybe explaining how I look at employee experience.
Yeah.
So at Massmart, we call it associate experience.
Yes.
So when I look at it, I start with not the employee, but I start right at the end in terms of customer experience. Because if you think about the business that we are in, it's a retail business. We have different types of customers. Yeah. And our business spends a lot of time obsessing around how do we service them and what products do they need, and let's understand their needs, which is absolutely important. And I think it's difficult to look at employee experience in isolation. So how I look at employee experience is, let's start with understanding what customer experience do we want to deliver.
Yes.
Because once we are clear about that, then we can come back and say, so you're working with an end in mind and you work your way back. And then say, for that customer experience to be delivered, what should our employee experience look like? Because remember, the customer experience is delivered by our employees, not by us.
Yeah.
So if what we are doing to our employees does not help them to deliver the customer experience we want, we can spend millions on customer experience. If you don't have a clear employee experience journey and you're clear about what that looks like, the customer experience will never happen. Then there's a third element, which is around leadership. So in my view, our employees, our organization employs, let's say, 45,000 associates across the continent. That's a big number. And I've always said to the team, our role is to sit and come up with strategies and policies that have almost the common thread of what experience we want to create, which is fine. But that's still sitting there. The number one driver of employee experience is the leadership that the person deals with on a day-to-day basis. So how are we thinking about what kind of leaders do we want in this organization? How we build capacity for them to lead in the way that we think creates a good employee experience, as a result, a good customer experience. What feedback mechanism do we have in place for them when they're doing well and when they're not doing well? So employee experience then sits in the middle. On the extreme right, you have customer experience, which is the ultimate. And then on the extreme left, you have your leadership piece. Without it, we can talk about employee experience all we want. It's not going to happen.
True. Yeah, two sides of the same coin. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you look back now on your own journey, what would you say has been the most important part of what would you say has been the most important part in helping you shape your viewpoint on employee experience?
So I think for me, it's a few things, and it's pieces that I've picked up in the different organizations, right? So the one part is we need to be clear as an organization why we exist. That kind of is the first piece.
Yeah.
Why we exist, and a place that does this really well is Discovery in terms of just what their ambition is.
Yeah.
Which hasn't really changed in the years that they've started, and then how they expect then people to behave. So why we exist, and we have a clear statement as Massmart, but also what values we expect every single person to live, because that's how you start building a culture. And then the values, like employee experience, can't be something you put on the board for people to remember but not live.
Yeah.
So it's the lived experience and the behavior. So that's the first one. I think the second learning for me is you can't create an employee experience, even strategy or plan, without talking to the employees themselves. It's like, because I've seen organizations where there's consultants, there's strategy sessions, and then here's your employee experience. That doesn't really work.
Yeah.
You want to understand what their current experience is, what's working, what's not working. And especially when we're sitting at these senior levels, it's easy for us to think we know what people are experiencing on the ground until you go and you spend time with them, and then you get shocked, right? Because then that teaches you, there's a bit of a reality check, because I've also learned very quickly that sometimes there's good intentions in terms of strategies, policies, and practices when they're set here. But if you are not thoughtful around how you cascade, what support is provided, how you monitor the implementation, and create a self-correcting mechanism, you find that it sits here, but what happens below the line is nothing like you had anticipated. So make sure you spend time with your employees, and it's different stakeholder groups. Remember, now we are in the world that talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it's not one lump of people that we say everybody here's the one experience. It's understanding the needs of the different stakeholder groups, having that diversity, equity, and inclusion lens. And I say to the team, you can't run a business as big as this via Zoom. It's a retail business. The only way you run a retail business is when you're on the floor and you're talking to the leaders and you're talking to the employees, because then your strategies are going to be informed strategies, and you're also able to manage and monitor the implementation. And I think that's the one thing that I love about retail, and I've loved financial services for different reasons. But for me, retail is real. There's no high heels, and it's like you're on the ground with the people. If you're not, you're going to lose touch very quickly. You can't manage it via a head office.